Hi everybody, so thank you for coming to the last panel of the day. I'm Louisa Spring. I'm with T-Mobile and I am a principal in innovation and strategy. I have been focused on XR for the past 10 years and love gaming and have really kind of seen a vision of how location-based experiences can come to life in citywide scapes. So without further ado, let me also introduce the panelists. Will, over to you.
Hey folks, I'm Will. I'm creative director of a creative technology studio called Sugar, based out of the UK, doing work all over the place. We do innovation, and that's what led us to do City Scale XR, using Mawari tech, using Joe's Niantic Spatial tech, and being supported incredibly by T-Mobile.
And over to you, our accelerator alum on the panel.
Hi, I'm Luis, founder CEO of Mawari. We provide XR streaming technology to creative studios like Sugar Creative. We collaborate with a lot of XR innovators because our main objective is to really push the envelope on what's possible today. And with real-time interactive XR.
And Joe.
Yeah. Thank you all for being here. Last session of the day, this is commitment to the craft. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and last bits of energy for the day. I truly appreciate it. I'm Joe Gabriel from Niantic Spatial. I'm from our Seattle office, and I'm our head of partner and developer success. Fun title that just means I get to work with all the really cool third-party dev teams that are using our technology to make really big visionary, city-scale, walkabout experiences and applications. So when I'm not working, I'm playing board games, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm playing Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. If you're looking for a great video game, that's the one for the weekend for you. Yeah. Thank you, Louisa.
Great.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the dream team here. We love working with each of these companies. I'm going to click.
One of the things that excites us about this project is every street all over the world has the potential to deliver truly phenomenal immersive geolocated XR storytelling.
The project we're working on is an augmented reality experience in the streets of Boston.
You're going to be looking through your phone and be able to see historical artifacts or play games that are educational.
Niantic Spatial's visual positioning system is used to precisely anchor the narrative experience to real-world locations.
The goal of this project is to validate our GeoSmart launcher, which is essentially an app store in the wild.
GSL provides a seamless way for location-based experiences in XR to happen without needing to install an app.
What's innovative about this project is heavy object streaming, something that is only made possible from our 5G network.
Mawari is revolutionizing XR streaming. With 5G providing that crucial last-mile connection, frictionless real-time content becomes a reality.
Currently, this project is in the research and experimentation phase. We're here, we're working through a number of potential options.
We work side by side with you to unlock new possibilities. This collaboration reflects T-Mobile's pioneering use of our network infrastructure in creative fields.
I would love for users to have that magical moment being transported. I want them turning to each other and having a sense of joy of seeing something that they had imagined but not believed possible.
There you go.
Oh, no round of applause. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so, obviously working with Sugar Creative and seeing, what they've done before. Will, why don't you give us a background on Sugar?
Sugar, as I said earlier, creative technology studio. We do a number of projects, different verticals, different kind of bits of technology, anything that's new, anything where people said, I bet you can't do that. We essentially turn around and go, hold up here, I'm pretty sure we can. And that's led us to do different stuff. Machine learning, AI, demos for Apple. But the thing that, if I'm honest, I really loved is geolocation lifestyle. Taking a place, understanding it, being able to pinpoint it, and then build stories inside it. That came out of a really interesting question that we were asked by the UK government. What is the audience of the future going to look like? Super broad, super interesting question. And combined with that vision of geolocated experiences, we ended up developing a project with Aardman. I don't know who here has seen Wallace and Gromit at all? Okay, it's a thing for most of you. We built a new story for those guys in 3 different cities. Step into their world, engage with it. That then gave us a framework to develop a much bigger, proper city-scale experience with the incredible team at Ubisoft. So we took Assassin's Creed Valhalla, who were a game that's fortunate enough to have created entire cities in the UK as they were 1,000 years ago, and then put that into the real world. That Assassin's Creed Valhalla work, the Project 878 AD that came out of it, was fully commercial, spread across the city, and laid the groundwork for this future vision. And to get there, we realized we needed another huge leap forward, which is where T-Mobile came in, funding massive amounts of R&D to enable us to take that next step into the next generation of geolocated XR.
Yeah, so I mean, I went to see the Winchester Assassin's Creed experience that was fantastic. It was done so well. And that really did inspire me, actually, to come back to T-Mobile and say, we should be doing something like this in America. So obviously, we had been working on the GeoSmart launcher for a while, which is, pioneering immersive technology that's like an app store in the wild, like you heard. It is available, but within, certain... within the 5G hub, basically, we've been working on this for the past year or so. And we actually did a project with another accelerator alum in Bellevue using it, which, taught us many lessons. But then seeing what Sugar had done with Assassin's Creed Winchester made me think that actually we could use it with an experience in America. And obviously, the one that we're actually going to be doing is set in Boston. So my question for you, Will, is, why did we pick Boston, apart from the fact that, it's a very historical kind of town and the things that we can say about the game?
If you are going to pick somewhere to set a geolocated experience, you want to pick something that has some open spaces, but that crucially has that depth of experience. When you walk down the street, you want to have the opportunity to imagine other places, to step back in time, either one. And Boston is such a perfect example of that. There is already a freedom trail running through it. There is already big open spaces. There is a lot of architecture that's not modern. I mean, you look out in Long Beach. Long Beach has its charms. Its charms are not architecture. Boston, especially downtown Boston, is fantastic for actually laying groundwork to actually step back into the past. So that combined with a very receptive city. So when you're going out and you're choosing places to work for geolocated experiences, making sure that the actual city itself is super on board. The leadership team of the city of Boston, they love the idea of being forward-looking. As soon as this was broached with those guys, they went, yep, what do you need? How do we help you? How do we make this happen? So that was fantastic.
Yeah, so another big part of the project was obviously, object streaming with Mawari. And Mawari has been for us, because everything has to have a 5G story, because they stream over 5G. This is, a company that obviously we've done a lot of projects with now. So I did want you basically to discuss, how you worked with Wenping and within the lab, and also some of the other projects you might have done with T-Mobile.
Sure. Well, first of all, yes, streaming needs network, and these geolocation experiences, have a Wi-Fi available, so it needs to be a stream over 5G or 4G, for that matter. How we collaborate with T-Mobile has been very helpful, because network is never perfect, and sorry for saying that, but there's always a different set amount of people using the network. You don't know what to expect. So with T-Mobile at their innovation team, we've been stress testing this, like, okay, how many amount of users, limitations of bandwidth, and so on and so forth, so that we could actually understand, okay, so what's really the minimum requirement to get a really good immersive experience out there, so that we could, basically optimize our technology. So that's one part. The other part is, okay, so who's using our technology? Companies like Sugar Creative. So T-Mobile has done a great job of introducing into really good companies that are actually innovators. Many people don't realize that streaming is necessary for XR today, but just mark my words, in 3 years everything will be streamed. So we're very early, and people like Will and Sugar Creative, I'm really thankful actually, because they are testing our technology in a very alpha state, but
it goes both ways. I mean, as soon as someone says you can have something with advanced real-time physics or live streamed in, and we're looking around going, sorry, surely this is going to melt the phone. I'm like, no, this is just over a network, real-time, move around freely. You're kind of going, okay, cool, this is not something which is in the future, this is something which is now, and it's the big testament to Mawari's innovation.
So we are Mawari, the immersive compute network. What we do, we power real-time streaming of AI-powered content with close to zero latency globally. This is an example we did in Japan, in which the audience and the speakers had a headset. Also interesting to note that Vision Pro, Quest 3, and X-Real all working together in a multiplayer experience. And the moderator was an AI avatar, so you'll take a look. I think the planet Earth will catch up very soon with the technology of Jupiter. And our mission is to see you get the headset, and the avatar, the moderator, is right there.
Thank you very much. I would also want to receive a brief answer. How do
and the audience is also with the headset. So it's the world's first mixed reality panel.
High quality, real-time virtual experiences.
So that's something that we do. This is with T-Mobile, so I'll let it play.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I slept in my cat bed. I woke up. Didn't even have to be anywhere. Because you see me in Dallas, but I'm next to my cat bed. I am meeting all my fans in Dallas.
Okay.
So it's a big day, darling.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a big day indeed.
You're all the way in Dallas. I'm in Waterloo, Canada, but I've spent so much time with you in the last 2 days. I feel like we can be best friends, in the digital world.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. So why don't we make ourselves digital world best friends?
Yeah.
High five.
High five.
All right.
So that was, by the way, it was using our network in the bottom of Hyatt, I think. So it was actually pretty incredible the way that technology compressed the 3D model of the avatar and did it live, like with live interactions with people. So it was incredible, and that,
That's the power of 5G. So for that to happen in real time, you need less than 32 milliseconds of round-trip latency between the actress and the person wearing the headset. And I will just explain. So you get the motion capture suit, the facial recognition, and the microphone go all the way to our cloud rendering server that is in Texas, from Toronto to Texas, and then that in real time needs to embed into the avatar the motion, the voice, and then render, stream, and then back into the voice of the end user. So that's without very efficient network, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, it was great. So also, I was going to ask you about about Namba.
So about location-based experiences. So we're working a lot with virtual YouTubers. They are digital artists per se that do not exist in the real world. But in Japan, you can already see concerts with 30,000 people actually watching real digital avatars. Sorry. So as they cannot exist in the real world, our mission is to actually bring them to the real world and have their fans interact with them. So this we announced last month a partnership with Virtual Avex and Brave Group. Brave Group is the third biggest B2B agency in the world, and Virtual Avex is an agency from Japan that actually Avex is the biggest record label. So this is the actual product that we are launching for VTubers. So I'm gonna press play.
One important takeaway here is Sugar Creative. I did not know who they were. GDC three years ago, you came, tapped me on the shoulder. Hey, I have something to show you. I want to figure out how to work together on this. In testament to like devs that really go to hunt down like who's the person I need to talk to like get the connection I need to take my business. Like please hunt people down. Send multiple emails. No one's ghosting you. It's just lack of time sometimes. Yeah, and like stone cold. Take as many shots on goal as you can, okay? And when we got to Boston, it was really great. So like Will and team had kind of identified, I want to say like 24 potential locations around the city. You do what you can on Google Street View. Here, this looks okay. These are some nice potential ones. Here's a potential loop, that might take 45 minutes for someone to walk about. Let's go on site. And it was really great because Louisa, myself, Courtney, we got to go out with the Sugar team on site to do some location scouting. So it was a lot, and we learned a lot. There's kind of this practical, like you kind of have to see it to understand the complete space. Google Street View can give you some situational awareness, but we are 5 sensory beings, and you only get a slice of that when you're looking at it on a desktop. Part of our criteria was like ease of access. Is this a place that is just really functionally easy to get to? Is it gonna prevent people that don't have cars or bikes or are on wheelchairs or just like need easier access? We look at that. We look at safety. Where in Boston is it situated in a way that we're not going to have news articles of any trouble on the street, for example? Like these are important. And then also like is the location. I think most important here is how well can the location like play a part in the story. Because AR, I think we've all seen kind of table stakes AR is just AR anywhere. It's location somewhere. It's just there in front of you, and it doesn't really matter where you're at. But the most like powerful applications of AR is when what you're seeing is actually connected to the thing that you're standing next to. There is like this connection and understanding level of, oh yeah, like these are meant to tell the story together. And then beyond that, is how does this location actually lend itself to multi-user experiences? What we found at Niantic with our background with Pokemon Go and other kind of social map-based community games is like, it's not like AR I think has a certain amount of power, but it's really the social engagements, the relationships you make. It's jamming together and being creative or combat, but it's just like you're creating a memory together when you do it with someone. If you're experiencing it alone, it's a different kind of memory, but the way you make it sticky oftentimes is through like social interaction. So it was great. We pared it down to how many locations we got on the final? 9. Yeah. So it's feeling really tight. But there is kind of oh, you can't do that one. And some of it was like public locations, and then you find out when you get there, oh, this is actually privately owned. So sometimes that's an opportunity to like, hey, we'd love to work together with you, put it into your ticketing system as a way to like get more people to come to your spot. Or they're like, no, thank you. We just want classic historical location with no digitization, and that's okay too. But you have to kind of be there on site to get those insights.
And also, whether or not it's going to change. Because development cycles, you're going to need it to be vaguely consistent by the time you actually come to use it. I hate trees. Because trees are the most changeable thing, even separate from seasons. The damn things keep growing, so you can't rely on them.
Lorax has a word to say with you about that. Yeah.
Things like that are surprisingly important. The other one that I always love to share about being there in person is different to Street View. The unexpected thing that is intrinsically hidden. So I was scouting a location, doing some preliminary scans. About 10 minutes in, suddenly surrounded by very friendly gentlemen with very large guns. Because it turns out that it was actually a government building that didn't have a very big sign on the door. They were politely explaining that this was not
camera,
a good idea.
Just like, hey, yeah.
Hey, nice to meet you. Things like that require you to be on the ground and require you to actually really just get stuck in. I don't know how many times you've been there.
The Green Dragon, not that building. But one of the locations was the Green Dragon. It's this like really famous tavern that's there. Really cool classic street vibes, and like it's challenging because there's people in there most of the day, and capturing with a Scaniverse 3D scan, you're doing a behavior that is not common. You're in a public space just waving around, walking around in circles. You look a little like a crazy person, and we are, I think, but went into the restaurant to let them know, like, hey, this is what we're building, kind of show them, but it's an opportunity for dialogue, conversation, potential relationships, or just like partnerships there. So don't be afraid to, here's what I'm working on, and here's why it's cool for you, and I'm sorry for not filming, but just taking pictures of your lunch.
It's also a really great moment when, because everyone's had that moment of designing anything. You kind of go, am I an idiot? Like, is this stupid? When Joe was sharing the idea of what was being made to the people sat in a pub, you could see their faces light up. They loved the idea that the street outside was going to become something different. They were going to be able to walk back into history. And that, during development validation, really quite supportive.
Yeah, and I think we should say that actually, this game that we're working on has a big historical bent.
Yeah, we can say that we're stepping back into the American Revolution. Like, okay. It's Boston. I think that would be not a small jump for anyone. Yeah.
So actually, I also thought it was interesting when you were talking about POIs and water and homeless people. And,
homeless people are, again, another variable. I think we'll stick to water as maybe slightly less controversial. Water, contrary to trees, I love water. Water is intrinsically flat. It doesn't tend to change bar freezing over. And actually, one of the things that Joe pointed out, multiplayer. So in Boston, one of the things you're going to be able to do is become a captain of a ship facing other people who are captains of ships, piloting them, fighting with each other. A really cool moment, and made possible by finding a location and going, cool, I've got a big flat canvas to actually play with. Little things like that, super, super useful. And then, obviously, with all of that, big nod back to mobile. It's a 5G network, you've got to have next to no latency to play multiplayer shooting games. It is possible, and it is fundamentally different Boston to Winchester. I don't know who's been to Winchester in the UK. That would be just the people.
Jason, I don't know if you count. You count. Yeah.
It is beautiful, absolutely stunning, full of old white people who don't really need the network. So mobile coverage, not really a thing, made it really challenging. Being in the US, in Boston, being supported by T-Mobile, the things that you can do to go further, things like real-time multiplayer made possible with the spatial stuff, really cool.
So, yeah, the scanning part as well, I'm kind of interested. Can you go into a little bit more detail on the technical side and the challenges of some of the buildings that you were doing, but also maybe some of the other locations?
Love that question. Yeah, scanning is kind of a core part of the Niantic Spatial developer experience. especially if you want to do location-based. Computer vision can do a lot of stuff. Where you need the human input to be on location is holding your phone out there, capturing data. In essence, we're gathering Gaussian splats through our own application right now called Scaniverse.
Wait, can you just explain Gaussian splats?
Yeah, thank you.
That's something that, like,
let's drill in. Yeah,
It's a magic picture.
It's like a splat.
Yeah, and this is cool because this space of scanning technology has accelerated a lot, I think, just in the last like 3 to 4 years. I'm glad Blake's back here because this is his day-to-day. But like going from, photogrammetry, how do you take 1,000 pictures of a location, software stitches those together to make a semblance of like a 3D object. That's where you get broccoli-looking trees, which we don't like. We don't like trees. And then it evolves, into we have LiDAR scans, and that accelerated the space so nicely in where you see iPhones and Android devices like putting it into their hardware specs to just allow people to understand their space more. So this is a really positive movement towards Gaussian splats. I'll get there. And then you get NERFs, which is more like, real-time capture and understanding of, how are we putting these images together, shooting lasers into space to bring back point cloud data. And then we get to Gaussian splats, which is a major breakthrough in like scanning and spatial understanding technology. A couple key things here is that it's like really performant. It's very, very performant. Other methods tend to be a little heavy, compute, and expensive. Gaussian splats represent a lightweight way to capture a lot of data with a really short period of time. So even just like time savings to use a Gaussian splat, it's pretty fantastic. I can go to a park, spin around with Scaniverse, maybe for like a minute, and it won't just capture this like 15 foot bubble here, but you can get like 40, 50, 60, 70 feet away from you, capturing kind of a lot of background reference to understanding. A Gaussian splat is a tiny little obloid. It's a ball of light. When you zoom into a splat, it's not a solid mesh. It's a collection of millions of these little blobs that have color data and, importantly, orientation data that gives computer vision and understanding of where am I with reference to that blob. And so it lets you kind of step in, move around. 360 videos were static in that you were kind of stuck in one pinned location, but Gaussian splats let you walk through the space and then give you kind of that full experience. We use that in a way that allows the computer vision backend to understand your location. So you don't see this on the end like user side. This is the cool part, but really fun for developers. We're not reconstructing a mesh for the end user. All you're doing is localizing a virtual kind of ID authentication process that says, I am here at this exact location at this point in time. It happens in less than a second when you have killer 5G network. So it's really important to be doing that because we don't want to wait. Even 2 to 3 seconds is a long time for localization. So like you want sub 1 second, like instant localization. So when it works well, you just don't even know it's there. But a ton of work went into just making that smooth. So that's how we scan a location. And then we push that through a visual positioning system pipeline that says, it's not just an asset anymore within my Unity engine that I can build on top of and kind of situate content. But now I have to push it to VPS so that I make the API calls that says you are here, your GPS also says you're here, we're verifying. There's 20 other nearby POIs, points of interest, but it's not those ones, it's this one. And it happens, in less than a second when you got killer network. Is that okay? Yeah, all right, good, okay, thank you. Yeah, magic, as well.
The nice thing for people who are not involved in making mass amounts of data is that the practical upshot is that wherever someone is, so long as they're in a scanned area, they look around and within about a second, the system knows exactly where they are. And that means all digital content can be layered on top of the real world in whatever way you like. And that content is intrinsically stable and is accurate down to about this, which I'm
centimeter precise, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking really, really close. I'm so complacent about that, but that's insanely cool. I'd go back 3 years ago, I would have lost an arm to be able to do that. This is awesome. Any content you want, anchored to the real world seamlessly and rapidly. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So, well, also, let's just talk about, because obviously I went to Winchester, and how is the game in America going to be different from the mini games that I played in Winchester? And if you could explain kind of the mini games that worked and you saw the most engagement with, and then, how it's going to be different, the more big American beast version.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more American. There's flags and there's eagles riding tanks. No. The thing that we really learned when making geolocated experiences is that each individual location you're stepping into to do stuff, whatever the stuff happens to be, when you're seeing stuff, whatever the stuff happens to be, is not enough to have one, or to have ones across a city. You want to have an arc, and you want to build a story, and you want to have mission, you want to have purpose, and you want to play within those spaces. So you have inside a memory, inside a point of interest, you want to be able to play, have gamification, mini games, as Louisa pointed out. That first iteration, that 878 version, these were limited predominantly because of the stability of localization. We've let forward, we can now do a lot better. So the things that we're making, creative play, giant buildings changing, stepping into recreations of entire spaces. So we mentioned the Green Dragon Tavern, walking through the door of a building that's no longer there to explore the whole thing and to perform puzzles. As I was talking about earlier, shooting, taking on the role of the captain of the boat. Large scale, interactive, multiplayer, bigger experiences, more complex experiences, and that is that huge progression that we've been able to come along in the last few years.
Yeah, because that's true. You've probably been doing it, since the last 5 years? Geolocated experiences?
Yeah, first attempt at geolocated content was 5.5 years ago.
I don't like the word attempt.
Oh no, when we first started out, it was a train wreck, just because the tech wasn't there. What we had is a dream and little bits, and that's where we've started to see people build the tools that we were using. And the first attempt was like images stuck to the floor, so it was horrible. Yeah. And we have evolved it so much since then.
Can I add a quick note on minigames? Because I got to go to the Winchester experience and I brought a couple of partner engineers with me to kind of be with me for the location evaluation, see it in action. What I loved is it's really tempting, easy, and again, surface level, I would say, engagement to just like stand someplace, view a thing, simple 1-2 touch interaction. That's okay. And you do kind of need to pace your content in a way that's like, some of it's going to be super light, some of it you want them to spend a little more time at. But what I loved about Winchester is I found myself walking while in an experience. And like, you kind of have to plan, how do I move a human being from here to here? Not just tell them to point somewhere, but it's this dragging them through space. It is an interesting challenge. So like, I encourage anyone here that's developing or working on locations, like bring kids to it actually, because they kind of will tell you if it's too static or if it's doing the right amount of like physical walkthrough. They give you those indicators. They kneel down, they crouch down, they look at all the weird angles and everything. They will poke holes in every build you ever have.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. So the non-digital version of that, I don't know how many of you are fans of avant-garde theatre. Go do some of that. And it sounds really stupid. The more you have crazy actors moving around you, creating a world, a story that lives around you, and you have to move through it, that's fundamentally what we do. We work a lot with theatre designers, theatre storytellers, because it's how you understand space. Mm-hmm. You are not static inside it. You don't want it. You want to explore it.
So, actually, I have another question for you, Joe. So, obviously with Niantic, how many more of these location-based games are you going to see out there now? Because you kind of opened the...
Some floodgates here, yeah. So especially with this conference, I'm pretty happy. If you didn't get to see the Snap keynote, Evan Spiegel announced new glasses coming out 2026 that are going to be like consumer grade, outdoor spec, TBD on release date. But the big announcement is that Niantic VPS support specifically for Lens Studio. And so I see this kind of explosion opportunity for just curious developers that want to get into that space from especially a head-worn centric perspective of location services and location games and cultural preservation opportunities, travel and tourism, museums, science, education, all this. And so like, I think access to tooling is kind of a critical part of this. Bless you and both of you for like, hey, 5-6 years ago, and how many of you were just like working on really rough SDKs, in these early days. It was like your vision was pushing you through all the pain. We've got to a point now, I think, where the tooling is still painful sometimes, but less, which is nice.
No, it's completely manageable now.
Yeah.
Joe is very harsh on his own.
Painfully not manageable.
Really, it's so much nicer.
Yeah. But yeah, so I do expect to see just more of these location experiences kind of popping up. TBD on just like how do we manage monetization? What does guest throughput look like? I loved Winchester because it was paired together with a couple different organizations. There was a indoor experience that had like projection mapping, had really cool experiences in like live actors that are doing things, but also like at the end of this you see codes to, hey, now go outside and do the rest of this walkabout experience. So this kind of introduces a new dynamic for what does monetization look like in this space? Is it just a project budget, or is there kind of continued business opportunity there? And I love that.
I don't know how many people in the room are actually care about commercialization, but on that, these are now viable. We have seen roughly 10% uptake where we've deployed these geolocated experiences by population number, which is a huge number of people that can move through it. Combine that with the numbers that we had from 878, we can see 3 to 5x multipliers on the cost of creation when you then factor in also the upkeep. These aren't viable. So what we're at a point now is, as long as we have the tools, as long as we have a vision, as long as we have that proven commercial model, you can go out and you can make these stories across almost any street. Personally, I think you're going to see hundreds, if not thousands, in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, actually. So, what is your hope for LBE XR? I mean, have you just answered that question?
I don't
give it to this guy. Give it to this guy right here.
Yeah, because
So, yeah, basically, I think that's mine actually. Yeah, so. Okay, so. Yes, LBX is evident now, and it will start proliferating. What we're doing specifically is show that it can monetize, right? So you pay a ticket and you have a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but you want to bring your friends and your family. Okay, let's do this together. The social aspect that Joe was mentioning is essential. So, and this is where the power of AR works. I mean, you're wearing glasses or you're with the phone, but you're actually interacting with your friends and having that virtual per se experience together. So, and the world is a canvas, so it's unlimited. It could be in Boston, it could be here in Long Beach or anywhere else, and every place has a story, right, to tell. So, yeah, I mean, technology is getting there, and this will be exactly a new canvas to work on.
And I know that you're obviously working in the kind of VTuber and avatar space, but how important do you think IP is to location-based entertainment?
Very important, especially at this early stage, because outside this conference, nobody cares about XR in the end. But yeah, so for example, one of the experiences for me that was kind of like life-changing, and when I got it, okay, it's possible to monetize XR is the one by Tindrum, Kagami.
Kagami, yeah.
Yeah, because people went there because they were fans of Ryuichi Sakamoto, and not because they were fans of XR. And you could see, as unfortunately he passed away, and actually he recorded this concert in volumetric video right before he passed away. It was very emotional. You could see their fans actually holding hands together, crying with the magic lip on, so that was quite interesting. But that was like, there it is the social aspect, the emotional connection, and the power of IP that brings people to new experiences. And we did a similar experience in Japan with a famous choreographer, and we did a survey. And actually, 71% of the people that attended to this activation was first-time XR users. And 95% say that they would recommend it to a friend or do it again because it was actually something that they never seen before and it was good enough.
Yeah.
Can I offer a contradictory on just like IP? It's not a silver bullet at the same time. I think we're not part of Niantic anymore, so I can talk about this. This is great.
Yeah, okay.
I think this isn't still your microphone, my bad. Our time at Niantic was interesting because my first week that we were there, we sunset the Harry Potter Wizards Unite experience, right? knockout IP, right? Great partnership, awesome technology underneath Pokemon Go. Why didn't it succeed, right? We had a Settlers of Catan IP that was there. Again, kind of this like, oh, it's actually a beautiful map. We announced a couple other not closings, but just like we got far enough in the production process. It was like, this isn't, you know, hitting the metrics that we want and need right now with Transformers, for example. And then there was another Marvel's title. And like, is it bottled lightning with an IP? You know, we've seen as many hits as misses sometimes when it comes to IP. I think it's an understanding of what kind of scale and scope can you afford? Do you have runway for? And like, how much tolerance do you have in working with IP holders to like build experiences for? Because I promise you, the creative challenges when you get into the IP world are enormous at the same time. Creative control for things, it's a really delicate topic when you have decades-old IP or something that you're working with. And so like it really is built on this relationship of trust. For smaller studios, like if you got access to some kind of IP, freaking go for it, you know? But don't be worried and afraid of like also creating like just your own stuff. Great games work. Right now we're seeing another plug for Clair Obscur Expedition 33, you know, a new game coming out from a brand new fresh studio, and like I think it'll hit Game of the Year. In VR, what the heck is Gorilla Tag, right? Like it broke everybody's brains at Meta. So they were putting so much money and emphasis on like, hey, we need to feed, you know, some zombie shooters and some new like military sim games that are like rolling on IP. And like Gorilla Tag is here busting everybody's understanding of the ecosystem. So like you have these breakout experiences and titles. Like you gotta trust your creative gut in this. Find ways to do both if you can. But I just know that like it's always an interesting consideration when you get into that. There's as many reasons to do it as to not do it, but when it does work, then it's a beautiful thing. You know, we looked out at Niantic with Pokemon as an IP. That just hit all the right notes at the right time, you know, when the technology was not great. AR was the second feature, you know, that I turned off as soon as I opened the app. But then later on, they continually make improvements. I was not working for them at the time, just to add the note, you know? But like, it was something we believed in, and then just like continue to innovate and make it seamless, make it so that it's not something that gets in the way of the fun, you know? We tend to focus on the technology here, but when it works, you don't even notice it. It just has to fold into the experience in such a natural way. And like IP is similar in that it can enhance that, but it shouldn't hinge on the IP at the same time.
It can also be a huge pain in the arse.
It can be complicated. I don't know if I need this. The other thing there is that IP is great, technology is great, you've got a hammer, you've got a building, but actually what you really want is story. What you really want is a narrative. The Transformers stuff, the Harry Potter stuff, these are great IPs, but they are great because of the stories that were told in the worlds. And with the utmost respect to the games, they forgot that they needed some reason to be in the world. And the thing that really excites me is the new stories that are going to emerge from being able to tell the stories in these places. So that for me is the bit that is really exciting.
Excellent. So we have a few minutes left. I'm just wondering, are there any questions?
And if you do have questions, please raise your hand so I can bring your microphones.
And I will try and get the microphone to you first.
Give him the microphone. Question. Come to the front.
Get him, Will.
Thank you. Tag team.
Thank you. So I want to ask, as a student at UCSD, we've been doing some research in a cognitive science lab where we're trying to study the spatial recognition that people have when they're in cities. And when you guys talked about the scanning of city structures, things like that to make it more immersive, I kind of wanted to know what strategies do you have to help build that immersion for people that, like you said, outside of this conference, there's a lot of people that don't do VR at all. In fact, when we had people come in for participating in trials, they were like, how do I put this on? Like, what is this? Like, it wasn't it's hard to make those things intuitive if you're not used to it. So how do you help build that immersive experience for people that are from all different backgrounds of XR usage?
Every single build of every single XR game that we've made, the first one, no shadows. Seriously, guys, put a shadow catcher on the ground. It's really weird. And as soon as you do, that behavior, because they can understand that something has depth, because it has shadows, they feel enabled to move within it. It's amazing little things like lighting and sound make a huge difference.
I'll add a quick note on this one. I love this question because it's hard. And when it goes right, again, it's one of those things that you just don't notice because we live in this physical space. For example, Jason, you're behind this gentleman, right? You are properly occluded, right? You're situated behind him in such a way that he appears, closer to me in 3D space, which is important. We shouldn't have floating. That's where also like streaming is important because you need things situated and fixed in space rather than like moving around, drifting, not kind of keeping their orientation because it gives it this feeling of like, why is this happening? It's breaking physics for me as a human being, right? There's another feature that's really cool that we do called semantic segmentation. It's a mouthful of basically spatial understanding that with computer vision, similar as like a language learning model, that you can kind of teach it with images and with videos how to recognize sky, grass, trees, mountains, cars, couches, animals. And so you create these kind of meta data tags essentially that aren't just, 2D representations, but there's a high threshold of confidence that like, oh, this is this, and the content should interact with it like this. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of this or played it, but there's a Niantic title called Peridot. This was kind of our first stab at it. It was an original IP, 100% kind of like mobile AR experience, but it really leaned heavily into semantics. So you get this little Tamagotchi creature called a Peridot or a dot, and if you're sitting on the couch with your camera out, right, your Peridot would look at the TV, it would turn and look at you, a speech bubble pops up with a TV and a question mark, and then it would poof, disappear, and then like a tree with an arrow indicating like, take me outside, And like, so how do we treat our agents in a way that understands the environment to help give us the contextual clues to kind of navigate the experience? You can kind of treat that through UI. That's kind of a heavy-handed way. Do this, turn left, you can use text boxes, sure, but are there more intuitive ways to approach this? And that is, there's a quote from John Carmack that just is like, you got to give a damn, in the details, and like that's where these things really pay off. Yeah, I love that question.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you so much. And please give a big round of applause to our panelists here.
Yeah.
Very exciting work.